All right, so we're gonna have to. Everyone, please forgive me for the lack of light. This is a very impromptu live stream, and due to the current situation in the house, I have to be out in the backyard where all we have is this light. And so, unfortunately, not a whole lot we can do about that right now. I guess we'll decide later on if this was a mistake or not, but I definitely wanted to discuss the Oscars tonight. So just a couple things before we get to, well, the main reason you're here and listening to me. Some of you probably want to know how I did at the Oscar party. I did well. The Oscar pool, I did very, very well. Of course, I predicted most of the wins. I couldn't bring myself to predict Coda would win Best Picture. I thought, no, they're not going to do it. They're not going to give a streamer Best Picture. They're not going to give a movie with so few awards Best Picture, or at least so few award nominations Best Picture. But they did. So, I mean, good on Coda and the team for winning Best Picture. It makes my job as collecting these Best Picture winners a little bit more difficult because I don't know if they're actually going to release a DVD or Blu-ray of it, but there you have it. I do think it is actually now curious that Jane Campion won Best Director for The Power of the Dog when it won no other awards that night. At least, I'd have to go back, but I'm pretty sure it won no other awards. And yet Denis Villeneuve did not get a Best Director nomination, and considering Dune won 6 Oscars, that omission is even more glaring than it was before. But, of course, the big event of the night, the one which we have not seen since the Streaker ran in front of David Niven, or Sachin Littlefeather accepted Marlon Brando's award, or I guess you could even argue La La Land being incorrectly named for Best Picture, was Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Or you could say punch. I mean, it was hard enough it sounded like a punch. It was definitely assault, regardless how you look at it. Now, that's the moment that's going to be talked about forever. And it's also, by the way, going to haunt Will Smith forever, too. I mean, some people like to point out, like, oh, yeah, he just slapped Chris Rock and then won an Oscar 20 minutes later. Guys, those results were sealed and certified. There was no way he wasn't winning the Oscar. Had this happened during the Golden Globes, like had the Golden Globes had a show, and if Chris Rock made a joke and Will Smith slapped Chris Rock then, Smith might not have won the award. Keep that in mind. 20 minutes is not long enough to change, the trajectory of Will Smith winning that Oscar. But you know what it is going to affect? It's going to affect people's image of him. It's going to affect goodwill he has. There's already people online basically upset at Will Smith for doing this, especially since the only other person that people seem to like more than Will Smith is Chris Rock. So now I have sat here for the last hour or so thinking about this and discussing it. And what's my take on it? What's my hot take, if you will, on Will Smith basically assaulting Chris Rock? Well, here's the thing. I want to give some props to Smith first and say that I understand a little where he's coming from, first of all. Smith was protecting his wife. He got offended for his wife. Interestingly, if you watch the Oscar clips, Smith seemed to think the joke that Rock told was funny, but Jada didn't think it was funny. And when he realized she didn't think it was funny, that's when he got all offended for her. And he got caught up in the moment and he got really upset and he did something foolish. I do understand that to a certain extent. And I'm not saying I don't understand where he's coming from. Unfortunately, that's also the only thing I'm going to give him credit for because everything else he handled extremely poorly. First of all, there was no reason, none whatsoever, to assault Chris Rock like that. Yeah, it was a tasteless joke, if you will, but, that's what comedians do. They tell tasteless jokes. And thank God it was Chris Rock, because Chris Rock, I think, was nice about that tasteless joke. If it had been someone like Ricky Gervais, oh my gosh, like, it would have been much worse than the G.I. Jane joke. I'll tell you that right now. In fact, had it been Ricky Gervais, Gervais probably would have kept going. I fully expect Gervais would have actually used that opportunity to lean into the situation a little bit more. Chris Rock seemed to have enough respect for the Smiths that he basically realized that this had gotten out of hand. He didn't mean for it to get out of hand, but he was going to bring it to an end right then and there. So, good on him to probably have the foresight, and his little comeback, like, that's probably the greatest moment of television. Like, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's having a sense of humor about it. But that did not, stop the fact, or that did not ignore the fact that Will Smith just got on live TV and just assaulted someone. So now, of course, me and my friends at the Oscar party were wondering, is something going to happen at this point? Like, is the Academy really going to let him accept an award after all of that? And I mean, maybe it was too late to, like, escort him out or something. And his publicist was apparently talking to him throughout the commercial breaks, and they probably encouraged him that he needed to address this and make an apology of some sort. So how did Smith handle the apology? Not well, in my opinion. I mean, the funny thing is the building blocks were there. He started talking about he was there to do God's work, and he was about love, and he wanted to love people and be a good example. This is all good, and I thought the logical conclusion would be where he would then say, however, I failed in my own standards, and I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to everyone watching, and I want to especially apologize to Chris Rock. This was very inappropriate, and he didn't do it. In fact, apparently he was building up that whole I'm about love thing and I defend my family to compare himself to Richard Williams, who he played in King Richard. And then he basically he did apologize to the Academy and the fellow nominees, but he didn't apologize to Chris Rock. And it's like, oh, dude, you're so screwed. Now, is Will Smith's career over? No. Too many people like Will Smith. Heck, I like Will Smith. Honestly, I think had he just apologized, it would have been a nothing burger. The fact that he's kind of digging in his heels and he is not apologizing, and he's basically trying to make himself, he almost tried to make himself out to be the victim. Like, I love too much, I defend, and someone attacked my wife. Never mind the fact that I thought the joke was funny until I realized she didn't think it was funny. So I just don't know. Now, I think at some point he is going to apologize to Chris Rock. I think it's going to become too big of an issue. It's going to be brought up in every interview he's in, every promotional piece. People are going to ask him about it. Until he apologizes, this is not going to go away. And for sure it's going to be made fun of at South Park. Is Smith going to go over to Colorado and beat up Trey Parker and Matt Stone? I don't know. I mean, it's also sad when I stop and think about it, because, Smith is one of the best actors in the world. He really is. And, he had a bit of an aura of respect that few people in this industry have. People just liked him for many, many years. And then when he wrote his book and decided to show his flaws, people applauded him for being honest about his struggles and where he's failed in life. So Will Smith had the world in the palm of his hands. And it seems silly, but yeah, this one event, and the fact that he really didn't fully own up to it, just undid a lot of that goodwill. I can see it on Twitter, and I'm probably going to see it in real life as well. People are going to not respect this man for a very long time. And even though he made a speech about how he wants to be loved and he wants to be about love, he's going to be mocked relentlessly for it. because he made that speech 20 minutes after he just assaulted a man on live TV. And I don't know if Chris Rock is going to sue him, to be honest. I think Rock has a better sense of humor about it than that. I think Rock is a bigger man. He's shown himself to be a bigger man because other comedians would have leaned into that a little bit more. And Rock probably was a little disturbed that it got that personal, and that's why he didn't lean into it more. But, if Smith digs in his heels and doesn't apologize, and he goes on as if like he basically did nothing wrong, it's on camera, dude. Rock can totally sue him for assault. And then Will Smith will be making another type of apology, one that involves a check and a lot of zeros in it. And it's pretty clear in every conceivable way that Will Smith was in the wrong. He was totally in the wrong. And again, I don't want to like act like he's an evil man. He's probably not. In fact, interestingly, if there is one bright spot to this whole thing, even though he's completely wrong in what he did and how he handled it, he also ironically showed himself to be just as human as any one of us would have been. Like, he got his wife was offended and he went and defended her honor. And, even though we're all kind of like, that was not the way to handle it, but, oh man, I'd be lying if I didn't say I want to do that. There are people who have made fun of my wife on YouTube that I don't know. That's the thing. We all do crazy things when the people we love are wronged or we perceive them to have been wronged. So I do understand a little where he's coming from, but at the end of the day, he was completely wrong. There was no justification. He did more harm to himself than... Yeah, he just did more harm to himself by doing what he did. Had he done nothing and just accepted his award, you know what? People would have been celebrating. You won your Best Actor award, and you showed that you had a good sense of humor. But now people are going to be saying like, wow, did you see Will Smith? Like, that guy lost his temper. I mean, here's something else to keep in mind, folks. Remember when Russell Crowe was like the most beloved actor in the world? Just did Gladiator, was about to win a second Academy Award for Beautiful Mind. And then a story involving him and an altercation with a hotel employee, which involved him throwing a phone at a woman. Yeah, and Russell Crowe's career kind of was never the same. And that wasn't even broadcast. And I think that it's a good thing that it wasn't broadcast or it wasn't aired or whatever, because it would have made him look far worse than people imagined it to be. But with Will Smith, it's on camera. You can see it. They're going to be playing it. They're going to probably be making those little mixtapes to it, whatever they do on YouTube. So it's not a good look. Not a good look. So that's where I'm going to leave this story. Again, I'm sorry again for the lighting, and this was very last minute, but I just wanted to comment on this while I guess it was still fresh, because who knows, we could also just as easily forget about this first thing tomorrow morning. But yeah, I think Will Smith is definitely going to regret this, and the sad thing is, this should have been his night. This should have been a night of celebration. He finally achieved the success that he'd been aiming for, and he deserved that award. He totally deserved that award for Best Actor. And instead, he lost his temper, and that's what he's going to be remembered for. And that's probably the biggest tragedy. Had he just been the bigger man, he could have held his head up high. This was one of the greatest nights of his life. But no, he lost his temper, and now we just have to wait and see exactly how much people's perception of him changes from this point on. Anyway, it's time for me to go to bed. Congratulations to Coda for winning Best Picture. I personally want to drive my car to win, but whatever. There's only one movie that I selected as the best film of the year that won Best Picture. In the last 20 years, I've been making top 10 lists, and that was Parasite, so it doesn't happen very often. Anyway, folks, I would like to know, what do you think of the situation? Do you think Will was in the right? Do you think he was not in the right? What do you think Chris Rock's response is going to be to all this? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. And I promise we won't do this in this type of light again. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.